This is actually a really good choice to come this week because we're going to play some games. So you're invited to play as well. But there's a little bit of something I need to present before this. It took me much longer than expected. But after slaving over this some nights to combine all of your ideas together into one data collection, finally ran this, 500 participants online, all your ideas, minus a few that were duplicates or some stuff that I just thought was not ready for participants. And we have some results. So I just want to show you a little bit what that looks like, walk you through so that you can find what it is that you're looking for. So everything is on the Slack announcement. It links to the Open Science Framework, or it's attached to the Slack. And this is what it looks like. So I did this with R Markdown. And basically what I did is very similar to what you did in your assignments. Qualtrics simulate some random data as if it's the real data. And based on this, I did the pre-registration. I pre-registered that. Then I proceeded to the data collection, downloaded the new Qualtrics data, and just inserted this into this R Markdown in order to produce the results. Okay, so what you see here is here on the left side, we have like a bunch of things that are very technical about how I load stuff on R. Don't need to mess around with this. Some of you did this in Jamovi, completely okay, no problem. You can just use this. You don't need to like do the code, but I'll show you what that looks like. There's an overview about how I loaded the packages and loaded the data set, and then all the rows that are columns that are in there. You can skip all of that. Don't worry about this. And here on the left, you've got like analyses. So we've got two sets of analyses. One type of analyses are ones where we had linked hypotheses that are actually related to each other. So this is one block, and the other block is just like individual scenarios. So let me show you what that looks like. I'll start from the individual scenarios. So for example, some of you wanted to test whether people would prefer a charity that would have tax deduction, right? So what we had is this. Charities A and B both save lives with the same effectiveness, lives saved per dollar spent. They're exactly the same aside from one factor. What is this factor? Donations to charity A do not qualify for tax deductions, and donations to charity B do qualify for tax deduction. So I wrote the hypothesis here that people would prefer tax deduction over no tax deduction. You can see the results here. This is the p-value, and we aim for lower than 0.001. So lower than 0.001, so not 0.05, 0.001, because we have 91 different hypotheses. So 0.001. You can see that we're far below 0.001. And here you can see the distribution. So we've got, for this specific one, we've got 119. The reason is that I ran 500 participants, but because they had 104 items, each one only answered 23 of those. So about like divide by 5. So here for this question, 119 people answered this question. And you can see the p-value is very, very low. And you can see that most of them prefer to allocate more to B. So you can see that the average here is 64, and this is highly significant. Therefore, supported that tax deduction is actually better than a charity with no tax deduction. So this is an example for a supported hypothesis in the right direction. So we have a lot of these things. So for example, relevance and norms and preventive versus treatment, well-established versus new, optimism, neglectedness, framing. In all of these, you can see whether there's p-value, and a lot of the hypotheses were supported. Some of them were supported in the opposite direction. So some stuff is really interesting. And then for all of these, you'll be able to see the distribution. You'll be able to see how it compares to the 50 point. So here it's much higher than the 50 point. And on top here, you will see all the statistical tests and all the results. Okay? So this is the block of the singular scenarios. Now I'll show you the other block with the connected scenarios. So if we go back here on the left, these are the analyses for the individual scenarios, but we also have these analyses for connected scenarios. So for example, many of the groups wanted to test framing. If we frame something in a positive way or in a negative way, right? So positive framing, negative framing. Is there going to be a difference? The odds are exactly the same. So what's going to happen there? So actually, if you open framing H1, you will see there's H1A, H1B, and H1A plus B, because H1A is positive framing, H1B is negative framing, and then H1A plus B compares the both of them. So let's see the comparison. I'll just jump right to the end. So the comparison looks something like this. And you see here, I don't know if it's clear enough, yeah, but here you've got on the right negative framing, on the left positive framing, and you can see that there's significantly higher contributions under the negative framing. So people are more risk-seeking in order to avoid lives lost than they are risk-averse when they want to save, even if the odds are exactly the same. So this is support for a very classic effect called the framing effect, okay? So one block is just for singular scenarios and one block is for connected scenarios. Is this clear? Any questions about this? All good? Yeah? All right, so if you have any questions on this, just feel free to write to me on Slack, and then we can discuss this more. Very much looking forward to seeing how you summarize this and what's your impression of all this. Some wonderful things in there. So you've really challenged me to think about a lot of things. And I think generally the community, the academic community would love this, because many of the things that you put in were not previously tested. So this, for many of those, is the first time that we ever test this for empirical evidence. So not gut intuitions, but rather real test with real participants of a well-framed design with a well-framed hypothesis. Yeah, so a lot of interesting thing overall here, like 91 singular hypothesis. So cool stuff. Well done on this. All right, so today we're going to talk about competition, cooperation, and trust. We're going to try and play some games together. So I can't do this on my own. I will need you to engage with me on this. If you've taken one of my courses before and in those courses you played this game with me already, then please don't participate and don't tell others what's to happen. In each one of these games, I will ask you either to come and play with me, either engage with me, or to make some kind of prediction. So we put the scientist hat on and we try to think what's going to happen. We understand the rules of the game. Now we make predictions. Then we run this on ourselves, and then we compare the predictions to what actually happens in reality, okay? So for each of those, make sure that you have a prediction. I think the best way to make a prediction is to actually write this down, because afterwards, many times we misremember what it is that we predicted. So to challenge yourself, take a moment as I explain what the game is, and write a prediction in order to make sure that you don't fool yourself afterwards by misremembering what it is that you actually predicted, okay? All right. So my first question to you, you have an opportunity to win money from the professor. So it's a unique opportunity. We're going to do a bidding. And in this bidding, I am offering you 100 Hong Kong dollars. So it's real money. It's not like make-believe. So I'm just going to put this here, okay? And it's an opportunity for you to win this money. And the way that we're going to do this is by running an auction. And auction, just generally people throw out numbers, and it needs to be in increments of 10. So for this 100 Hong Kong dollars, you can throw increments of, I ask, let's start the bidding. Somebody starts, who gives me 10? Okay, 10 Hong Kong dollars. And then in order to exceed that bet, somebody can add $10 to it, or go all the way to whatever it is that they feel like. But the highest bid will get my 100 Hong Kong dollars in increments of 10, okay? Anybody can participate. You can also just observe if you just want to observe, but it's a real chance for you to win real money here at HKU from the professor, yeah? To beat the system, right? So just to give an example, what this looks like. So these are the rules. You're free to participate or just watch. You're invited to call out bids in multiples of 10 Hong Kong dollars until there's no further bidding. and the highest bidder is the one that's going to get the 100 Hong Kong dollars, okay? Rules, the bidding ends whenever there are no higher bids. So for example, if Christy gave a bid of 30 Hong Kong dollars and nobody else gives a higher bid, then I would say I would pay Christy 100 minus 30 is 70 Hong Kong dollars, okay? Any questions about the rules of the game? Everything clear? Okay, so I'll give you like 5-10 seconds, form your strategy, think very carefully what you're going to do, and form a prediction about what's going to happen. Who is going to say what, at what point this is going to end, okay? Think about this carefully, have a strategy, have a prediction. Okay, so let's start the bidding. We have 100 Hong Kong dollars for bidding. Gonna start the bid in 3, 2, 1. Let's start the bidding. Who gives me 10 Hong Kong dollars? 10 Hong Kong dollars here. Thank you very much. Any higher bids? More than 10, 20 Hong Kong dollars? 90 Hong Kong dollars here. 90 Hong Kong dollars for my 100 Hong Kong dollars. 90 Hong Kong dollars. Who gives me 100 Hong Kong dollars? 100 Hong Kong dollars. 100 Hong Kong dollars for my 100 Hong Kong dollars. Thank you very much. Who gives me 110? 110 for my 100? 110 for my 100 Hong Kong dollars. Terrific. Who gives me 120? 120? 120? 120? 110 going once? 110 going twice? Some problem? What happened? 110 3 times. Sold for 110 Hong Kong dollars. So now, time to ask yourself, is this what you predicted? So think for yourself, what did I think before we ran this auction? And what actually happened at the end, right? So at what point were you surprised? What was the first surprising thing that happened? Sorry? 90 Hong Kong dollars the first time. Why did you say 90 Hong Kong dollars? Okay, tell us why this is the rational thing.
You're not like gaining anything.
You're not getting anything, right? It's 0, right? Yeah.
So I thought, like,
90 is like the highest that's considered to be any gain, right? That's
like other people don't want to see other people winning money, so they like them.
might be. So let's ask. What's going on with the 100 Hong Kong dollars for 100 Hong Kong dollars? She's saying maybe that's not rational. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't gain anything.
Okay. What did you gain?
I gained satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Tell us about this satisfaction. I'm very curious. What is the satisfaction about?
I won the bid.
Oh, you won the bid with no gain. Did you win the bid?
No,
You didn't win the bid.
because
So why did you stop?
I'm willing to pay money to get this.
People are willing to pay money to get the satisfaction of winning the bid, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to you. What's going on? Okay, interesting. Thanks for that. I've had that 100 Hong Kong dollars many times before, but I've never had 110. So that's really interesting. So think about like what your insights are from what just happened here. So you had like an assumption, right? 100, like there's no gain, so that's like not rational. But turns out there is like a rational explanation. You want to win the bid, right? So therefore you do something. What would be another reason to give 100 Hong Kong dollars to overbid her? What's another reason to do this?
It's a transaction.
Transaction. Okay. Yeah. What do you gain from this transaction? Why participate in the transaction?
But like from a more economic theory, they would believe as long as you're break even, you will continue the business.
Okay.
So as long as you're not losing,
Yeah.
you continue to do this.
You feel alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There is value to you. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So we have another explanation. What could be another explanation to this? Yes.
Then, like, if 90 is the highest and 101 gets it, if I can't get it, and like at least no one else is also getting it.
Yeah. If I if I'm not getting this, then nobody is getting this, right? So at least there's something about, let's say, fairness or equality. It's like all of us need to win to the same extent. So I've heard that explanation many times before. Terrific.
I think that
Yeah.
that's special because it's beyond. So maybe I'm
They want the professor's note. It's not just any note. It's a note that the professor had at some point, or you won in a class, or you participated, or something like that. Yeah, it's a very good explanation. Great. So we have like multiple explanations. Perhaps some of us had like the assumption that maybe it's not rational. Now we understand, like people have different ideas of what is rational to them and why they would want. Maybe there's value in this note that's more than what's written on it. Could be, right? So lots of food for thought. Now we're going to play this game again. However, there's a slight change to the rules. So you still have an opportunity to win the 100 Hong Kong dollars or to not lose 10 Hong Kong dollars. So here's the updated version for this. And I invite you again to think of your strategy and then write down your prediction. The difference with this one is that not only does the highest bidder get, pay whatever it is that they need to pay, and then they get the 100 Hong Kong dollars, but the second highest bidder gets nothing, but still needs to pay. So I'll give you an example of what that means. So for example, if we have Christy and Brenda, so Christy bid 30 Hong Kong dollars and Brenda overbid her by saying 40, and then the bidding stopped and nobody bids anymore, then I would pay Brenda 60 Hong Kong dollars because that's 100 minus 40. But Christy, who is the second highest bidder, gets nothing and still needs to pay me 30 Hong Kong dollars. Okay? Do you understand the rules of the game? So second highest bidder still needs to pay. All right?
Like, you go by like taking 10 at each time, or can we just go directly? Like,
Yeah, she went directly. You can go directly. Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, form whatever. But keep in mind that somebody might have some other strategy, right? So as she's thinking about her strategy, think what your strategy is in order to win the 100 Hong Kong dollar. So think carefully, form your hypothesis, and make a prediction. And we're going to start the bidding in 3, 2, 1. Start the bidding. 10 Hong Kong dollars. 10 Hong Kong dollars. We have 10 Hong Kong dollars here. 10 Hong Kong dollars. Who gives me 20? 20 Hong Kong dollars. 20 Hong Kong dollars. 20 Hong Kong dollars here. Thank you very much. You still owe me 10 Hong Kong dollars. 20 Hong Kong dollars here. 30 Hong Kong dollars. And 30 Hong Kong dollars. You still need to pay me 20. 30 Hong Kong dollars. Terrific. Who gives me 40? 50 Hong Kong dollars. You still need to pay me 30. 50 Hong Kong dollars here. Anybody higher? 50 Hong Kong dollars. 50 Hong Kong dollars. 60 Hong Kong dollars. You still need to pay me 50 Hong Kong dollars. 60 Hong Kong dollars. Anything higher than 60? 100 Hong Kong dollars. You still need to pay me 60. 100 Hong Kong dollars for my 100 Hong Kong dollars. Anybody give me higher than 100 Hong Kong dollars? 100 Hong Kong dollars. You're going to lose 60. 110 Hong Kong dollars. You still need to pay me $100. So 110. 120, you still need to pay me 110, right? 120, anybody give me 130? 130? 130. 130, 120. So you're paying me 120. That's the end of the yeah, not higher? You sure? 120. Yeah, you sure? So you need to pay me 20, you need to pay me 30. No, 30, 20, and 10. Nobody needs to pay me anything. It's okay. It's just a demonstration for us to understand what's happening in class. I hope it didn't make you panic or anything like this. No need to pay the professor. Everything is okay. We can calm down and talk about this. What happened here? What went on in this version of the game?
about losing less.
Losing less. Tell us more about that. What does that mean?
Before it's getting to 100, it's like easy to understand. Like you want to get at least some money instead of paying like 50 for nothing, but others get can have it. But after it's reached 100,
Mhm.
it's more like the second highest bidder is losing,
Losing.
but they want to lose less.
Mm.
So in order to lose less,
Mhm.
they will give a higher price,
Right.
become the highest bidder.
Right.
And then the new second bidder will try
Right.
to lose less,
Right.
give a higher price.
Right. Yeah. So us not wanting to lose money is causing us to lose more money because we don't take into account how the other person is going to react to this by becoming the losers, right? Yeah. So just by changing one small thing, completely different dynamic. We already had some, let's say, irrational or things that deviated from our expectations in the first version. But what happened in the second version, that's above and beyond. I could tell you that in some of the games where I did not stop this, MBA classes, people just started like saying stuff to each other, to be very blunt and somewhat aggressive. And I had to stop it. And it's like, hold on. Nobody's losing any money. Everything is okay. But they were already like in the moment, very, very heated discussion. So let me ask you a practical question. I don't know if this matches any of your predictions, but at what point in the second version did I know that I'm going to win some money? What was the first time that I knew that I'm going to win some money? Never failed. Always. Every time I run this, always the same result. When did I know this? Given your explanation. Why is that? I already won when this is like 1560 because I pay 100 and then I get 110, right? Right. So I already like gained 10, but I actually knew that I'm going to win a lot earlier than that. When did I know? Yes? As soon as I get the second bidder, because the second bidder does not want to lose, right? They would do whatever is needed in order to get on top, thereby making the other person lose, right? Now, let's try and think, because we're scientists, what is actually the best strategy here? Let's put all of our minds together, crowdsource this problem, and we want in the next game, whenever you take my class next time, you want to beat the system because you really want that money, right? What is the best strategy here? So now you understand, just like casinos, the house is stacked against you. The chances are, for me, that I am going, every time I run this, same, never 110 in the first one, but no, still I never lose money. If anything, I just like win a lot of money from, from the students. So like, how to beat me? How to make me lose money? What's a winning? Let's take the first one. In the first bid, there are no two bidders. The highest one gets the money. What's the best strategy? What's a way to win? You had an interesting strategy. You said like 90, the highest, that perhaps there's some gain, right? Is there a better way of doing this? So what would be a way to correct what it is that you were trying to do in order to beat me? So you were trying to gain the 10 Hong Kong dollars by saying nobody else is going to do something. I'm going to get 10 Hong Kong dollars. What would be a better way to improve this? What is something that no one here considered? Cooperation. Tell me what that means.
We decide one person to pay for only $10.
Mm-hmm.
Remain silent until the end of the auction.
Exactly.
And later we can divide.
Exactly. Right. Definitely, if you do this in a real auction, right? All of the people in the auction can come together and say, now we're going to bid the house. We want to get the lowest price. And then amongst ourselves, we're going to decide what to do this. So one strategy, if I understand correctly, that you're saying is that the moment that I say 3, 2, 1, one of you gets up and say, everybody quiet. We need to beat the professor. My strategy is I'm going to say 10 Hong Kong dollars. All of you are quiet. Then you get the 10 Hong Kong dollars. And then what happens? I give the bidder, so let's say that's you. I give you the 90 Hong Kong dollars. And how do you explain, how do you get them to cooperate with you?
We'll say to divide the 90.
Divide the 90 Hong Kong dollars between all of you. Yeah? Yes?
that it's not realistic because first one, how do we know we divided? Plus, the share of every person.
Wait. When you say this, how do we know? What do you mean? Yeah, do you know him? No. She says that maybe she doesn't know whether you're going to really cooperate or not. Do you have an answer for this? We want to make cooperation work, right? But here's a challenge: how to do this?
No.
Yeah, let's try and improve on this. What would be a good way to improve this? So already here we have a strategy that might work. There was something else you wanted to say? Yeah. So trust is a very important thing. Some people here know one another, but there's always one that maybe you don't know, right? So it could be that somebody will outbid and they don't know if they'll get the money or not. Any way to improve this? How to improve this even further?
You can say that
Is accountable.
recorded.
It's recorded. Reputation. If he doesn't pay the money afterwards, what will happen? Lose his reputation, which would result in what? Mistrust in the future. So next bidding, nobody will trust him to. But any other penalty?
Verbal contract.
Verbal contract. Okay, how do you feel about this? The loss of reputation? Do you think that would hold you accountable to pay everybody? Yeah. So if I give you now 90 Hong Kong dollars, you will take care of everything. Okay. Okay. So is this enough for you? Is it enough for you? What is suggested here? The loss of reputation. Is there anything else you want to improve?
Pay more.
Okay, and who will hold him accountable to pay more? Social pressure. Yeah, so social pressure, that's one thing. What is another option? Because there's some, sorry? Yeah, mediator. What does the mediator mean? Yeah, let's give an example. Like me, what would I do as a mediator? But how? How would I do this? I can't hold him a prisoner in class, but I have some kind of power, right? I can enforce that power. And that power comes from either you giving me that power or the institution giving me that power or something that we all agreed on, right? Or we can involve lawyers, laws, right? Are you willing to sign a contract that you will give you not? Just to pay the lawyer is like 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, right?
For this,
Just for the lawyer. Yeah. So already you can see, it's interesting that we all immediately default to me, whereas we have other options, but then we understand that maybe these other options are a little bit problematic. So even if we want to do cooperation and trust well, there are always some things that might go wrong, right? So whenever I give the chance for a class, once somebody suggests this and I say, okay, let's run this again. Let's see what happens. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then the person comes up and says, shh, everybody quiet. And there's always somebody that comes afterwards and says something higher. Either they're like, just want to have fun because it's like a class, like make it this more interesting, or they really, maybe they don't know the other person. Maybe sometimes one time happened to me that two people have like a clash between them, so they don't want to let the other person. So interesting dynamics, right? Whenever there's like one person that comes up and says, I will take care of things. Trust me, I will pay all of you after I get my pay. Then you have to, really? Is this really going to work? We don't know. So we moved from a competition mode to a little bit of contemplating cooperation and then moving to like trust issues, right? So for a very simple game of like class interaction over 100 Hong Kong dollars. So thanks for engaging. That interesting stuff. Like every year when I run this, I learn something new. So that's already. So I did not invent this game. It's a real game that came from an academic article. So there are some people who specialize in making games out of that. either we play this in classrooms or we play this in labs. So we bring participants into the lab and we do something, and this is called the dollar auction. So been used many times, kind of like an old school thing. It even appears on Wikipedia, so you can go and Google this. Another part that I want to just like very briefly discuss is escalation of commitment. Escalation of commitment is sometimes called the sunk cost effect. So once you have sunk costs, you want to do everything in order to recover them, even if it makes absolutely no sense because there's some negative signals that you might lose this. So the both of you just going higher and higher, although you know that the other person will keep saying this back. So our inability to let go of sunk costs, that you say, okay, I've lost 30 Hong Kong dollars. Okay, nothing I can do. If I just keep investing in this, I'm going to lose even more money. And it seems like we do this in all kinds of things. Some people refer to this as the gambler's fallacy. So you can see people in casinos just like throwing money again and again, even though they're just like deep in loss because they can't let go of the sunk costs. They say, I've already lost all of that money. Now I need to try and recover this. But the odds are against you when you go to a casino. So you just keep losing again and again. It doesn't necessarily happen every time, for every situation, for every project, in every class, in every relationship, definitely not the case. But we need to be aware that we have this tendency to really focus on sunk costs, right? So we really need to check not only the path that we're on, but also the other paths that we have in order to make sure that we're really on the right path and to make sure that it doesn't keep escalating and becoming worse, but also has a path to becoming better, okay? The issue here with fairness, so 90 Hong Kong dollars and then 100 Hong Kong dollars coming afterwards. Some people say that they would rather, I think you raised it, so they would rather everybody be equal. So there's lots of research on this, but I find that the best way is to show you this in a video.
Have to be right. The one on the left is the monkey who gets cucumber. The one on the right is the one who gets grapes. The one who gets cucumber, note that the first piece of cucumber is perfectly fine. The first piece she eats. Then she sees the other one getting grape, and you will see what happens. So she gives a rock to us, that's the task. And we give her a piece of cucumber and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us. And that's what she does. And she gets a grape. And she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber. She tests the rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again.
You are going to win these sweets. So we've got these sweets here, but I need you to play with me what is referred to as the prisoner's dilemma. Or some people call this split or steal or split, right? So what I need here are two people to play a game with me. Any volunteers to play a game with me? Two people? Yeah, one. Can you come up? Thanks for that. Any other player? Yes, come. Good, very good. All right. So you know the prisoner's dilemma. You've learned about this before. Okay. So here are the payoffs. So both of them have one of two options. So I actually have like split or steal. Like I have this kind of thing. So you need to. So I'll just give you like you have. Yeah. Don't show the other person what it is that you're going to give to me. So you stand here. Come here. You stand over there. Yeah. Now we get a chance to see them in cooperation because they have an ability to cooperate over here. Now let's assume that you love kisses, Hershey kisses, and you want to maximize the number of kisses that you're going to get, Hershey kisses, okay? And now you need to come to some kind of an agreement about whether to cooperate or defect, whether you want to steal or split, okay? And I'm gonna let you in front of everybody talk this through for about 30 seconds, okay? Since we start. And then you need to choose one. Don't show anybody what you're going to, and then give me either a split or a steal, okay? Do you understand the payoff? So if both of you cooperate, both of you each one gets 2 sweets. If one cooperates and one defects, the person who the person who defected gets the 4 sweets, and the person who the other person has to return 2 sweets. If you don't have anything, that's completely okay. You don't need to pay me anything. And if both of you defect, you need to return 1 sweet. And we're going to do multiple rounds, okay? I'm not going to tell you how many rounds, just multiple rounds. So you have a chance to kind of like coordinate this, okay? So make a prediction, observe what it is that they're discussing, and think what's going to happen with the sweets over here, okay? So I'll let you two discuss this. Anything you want to say to each other? No, say this out loud. We all want to hear this. We're very curious. I'll even give you a microphone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Split. Yeah, I think if both of us split, we each get 2 sweets, right?
Yeah, we should meet in the middle. So split.
I just think we should meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you need to coordinate?
I hope you don't stab me in the back.
Okay.
We should agree.
He has some concerns about you stabbing her in the back. Anything you want to say?
No, I won't stab you. I'll split. I'm very cooperative.
Reach an agreement.
Reach an agreement? Okay. So you go over here. Choose what it is that you want to give me. Choose one of the, okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so the result is that we have a split. Okay? Perfect. Very good. So seems like cooperation worked. So we're going to give you 2 here, and 2 here. Well done. You can negotiate the second round. Anything you want to say to each other? Second round?
Same strategy. Oh, why would you change your strategy? I don't have an incentive to change my strategy.
Yeah, I don't have an
If I have a good incentive, I might have, but
If it was money.
The incentive is clear. Like you can get double the sweets and get more sweets than the other person. So rude. So rude.
Also because I think there's like a pressure because you would lose reputation in class if you like stab the other person.
But I will not tell the class who was the stabber.
we would know.
Yeah, but we would.
So not the whole class.
Yeah.
So it comes back to the reputation thing that you were saying, right? So that was a little bit of a concern. I eliminated that concern, but still, even just the 2 of you, and you 2 know each other also, right? Okay. So do you want to do another round? Yeah, let's give me another round. See what happens. Yeah. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen? Split. Very good. So I think this one deserves like chocolates. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Let's reflect a little bit. We had some good cooperation here. What do you think about their cooperation? What made it work?
I mean, you kind of changed the penalties a bit by saying like even if you lose, you don't really lose the money by keeping the candy penalty.
Okay, yeah, so a little bit eliminated the risk I think she was talking about before, right? There was something else going on in order to form this cooperation. What did you see?
It's not only 1 round, it's
Repeated, although I didn't tell them how many rounds, right? Okay.
memory of like previous round, like what the others do. Will influence the future like retaliation will feedback.
Right. There is an ability to test the ground to see if whether trust is warranted or not. And if perhaps they betray the trust in the first round, then what do we do in the second round? Let's say one of them would defect. What should we do in the second round? Retaliate. How? By even losing one. We're willing to lose one just to retaliate.
Sacrifice together.
Sacrifice together. Yeah. So it's interesting that even retaliation is like a strategy here. They beat me. I'm not the bigger person. I am going to show them so that they'll know that next time they face me. Right? So very good. Anything else? Yes, please.
Because we'll get cooperate in terms like if you betray us, like there are terms about what happened.
Yeah. So what did you notice about how they coordinated this? What did you notice about how they coordinated? What was the strategy? How did they?
Like they would, because if like in the most rational sense, if both cooperate, they get the maximum value. But they still have the terms like if you betray, there should be greater punishment, so that we can make sure that both of us will cooperate.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very interesting. We play with these prisoner dilemmas a lot. It seems like a very simple game, but you can take this to the very extreme. And I'm going to maybe show you. Have you heard of golden balls? Yeah. Have you ever seen who watched golden balls in the? Yeah, some of you have. So I'm going to show you two of the most remarkable episodes. And I want you to, again, put your scientist hat on based on what you just observed about a corporation. There, it's a real TV show with real money, real stakes, very large sums of money of two people who don't know one another, who need to decide whether to cooperate or defect, okay? So I'll just show you the setup. It's pretty clear. I'll just say that with this scenario, I'll show you another scenario. But in this scenario, you can see on her face that she's already very, very disappointed because, just like you said, there's a betrayal. They already had one round, and although he promised to cooperate, he defected. And she's very, very hurt, okay? And she doesn't know if she can trust this person again. So they're able to talk to one another. So let's see what happens, what the appeal is, and what is it that they agree to at the end. So think about this carefully and tell me what you see. He says, I am going to split this. Trust me again. Make a prediction. What is he going to do? Is he going to fill or split? Keep this in mind. You can see the pain. She doesn't know whether she can trust him or not, right? She's very, very conflicted about this. All right, here we go. Losing 50,000 pounds, and pounds back then is not what pound is now. And look at her, she can't even look at him, right? But she got her revenge, right? Very interesting case study. Now, what would be the best way to coordinate this in a TV show where everybody is watching? What would be the best strategy that you know for certain that everything is going to work out? How to force the stakes? For a very long time, I didn't know if there's an answer because you always have to trust somebody else. What would be a solution where you can guarantee that things are going to work out? So I didn't know. And then came this episode, which is very surprising.
It's the easiest choice, but the most difficult one. What I want you to do is to spend half a minute talking to each other about what you both should do. Nick,
Ibrahim, I want you to trust me. 100% I'm going to pick the steel ball.
Sorry, you're going to...
I'm going to choose the steel ball.
You're going to take the steel.
I want you to do split, and I promise you that I will split the money with you.
Well, after you've took the steel?
Yeah.
You're going to take steel?
Yeah.
I'm going to take split?
Yeah.
So you take the money?
And I will split it with you.
After the show?
Yeah. Ibrahim, I promise you I'll do that. If you do steel, we both walk away with nothing. I'm telling you 100% I'm going to do it.
I appreciate that. Right, I'll give you another alternative. Why don't we just both pick split.
I'm not going to pick split. I'm going to steal. Ibrahim, honestly, 100% I'm going to steal.
It's in your nature to steal.
No, I'm honest, and I'm going to tell you.
You're an honest.
I am. That's why I'm telling you I'm going to steal. If you do split, then I will split the money.
I can't see myself doing that.
Okay, well I'm going to steal, so we're going to leave with nothing.
Where's your brains coming from? I can't work out.
I know that I'm a decent guy, and I will split the money with you.
Well, we should just both split then.
No, I'm going to do steal.
There is no legal
I know there is.
for him to give you the money.
Of course. If I gave you my word, now let me tell you what my word means.
Okay.
My father once said to me, a man who doesn't keep his word is not a man. He's not worth nothing. Not worth a dollar.
I agree.
So,
Ibrahim, I'm going to steal. So you've got the choice. You either steal, and we both walk away with nothing. Because you know, I've told you my intention, and I've told you that I will split the money with you, Ibrahim.
if I gave you my word that I was going to split, I would split. And you're going to take steal. So,
the only way you can guarantee to walk away with 6,800
is
to guarantee that you both put the split ball in. And I do now have to push you for a decision. It's a tough one.
We've lost it. We've lost everything.
Okay. We've lost then.
We're walking away with no money because you're an idiot.
No, that's not
You're an
true.
idiot. You're an idiot. That's what you are. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. That's what you are.
This can go on all.
This can go on all night. They need to make a decision. What's going to happen? What would you do if you were in the left person's? What would you do?
Invigorating him to pick the steal. So,
Yeah, the person is saying, "I'm stealing for sure. You need to pick split, right?" Then what's going to happen? Okay, think about this. You've seen the discussion. One person for sure said that they're going to pick steal, right? They're honorable. They're going to pick steal.
All night, and these people have got to get up for breakfast. Nick, choose split or steal. Ibrahim, choose split or steal. Now, please. Choose a ball.
Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
I'm going to go with
I promise you I will split it.
You cannot change your balls now. Split or steal? Yes, congratulations, you have both split and each received £6,800.
Why did you put me through that? Why did you do it for me?
Interesting, right? Very unexpected.
You're the worst person I've ever met.
Yeah, very clever. I think one of the best episodes that are out there on Golden Balls, like how much can you stretch the prisoner's dilemma? But this is a real brilliant one because he wanted to beat the system. He wanted to make sure that the other person is going to pick split, right? And the only way to force this is by you saying steal. Of course, it can only work once because after he did this on national TV, then in the next ones, it's much harder. So it's like a one-time trick, right? Any thoughts about these two episodes? Anything that you've noticed that you want to share with us? What did we learn from this?
The knowledge about how many times the trade or the game will happen.
Mm-hmm. Tell us why.
You know that you have to. If I am the girl in the first round, I know I have a chance to like revenge in the second round. Then the first time it's like choosing split is a rational choice. If it doesn't work out, then the second time I can do that. But if it's only one time, then for the first time, without discussion, you should fail to ensure that you don't lose anything.
Right. And there's something a little bit silly about the person in the first video to very early on, even though he knows there's another round, to betray the trust, right? Like what kind of a strategy is this? But there's so many episodes of this. At some point, people need to like mix it up a little bit. So very good insight. You need to know how many rounds you're doing or have kind of like an estimate or prediction in order to form your strategy. Very good. Anything else that you've noticed? Right. So sometimes you want to look for the opportunity to turn an uncertain situation into a situation where we have a little bit more certainty by acting a certain way. And sometimes this requires a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking, right? So there are the rules of the game. I told you about the bidding game, and all of you are like, okay, now I'm going to bid. But there is like cooperation. So some of you can think about like a different way of going around that in order to increase the certainty that something happens. Nobody guarantees 100%, but it's better than the uncertainty of anybody can outbid me, right? So you can't get to 100% certainty, but you can increase your certainty in order to increase the odds of you gaining something in this exchange. Okay, very good. We'll do some more games, but for now we'll do a 5-minute break. All right, so you might be asking yourselves, all fun and games, good stuff. How is this related to advanced social psychology? What can we learn from this? So we can write academic papers on this. And this is a good example. We have a familiar name on this academic article, Richard Thaler, Nobel Prize winner of 2017, together with others that I know, follow on Twitter, interact with. And they decided, instead of collecting data, they decided, let's just take a TV show and analyze what happened in the TV show. So in case you're wondering, you want to pursue an academic career, let's say, and you don't want to rely on the professor for funding for your data collection, sometimes it's much easier to just go out there, see something that's already done, and just code it or use an available data set, in this case, a TV show. So they took the Split or Steal, analyzed all of the episodes throughout all the years, and then did some statistical analysis in order to see what happens. So it's interesting to see some of the insights. So for example, cooperation is surprisingly high for the amounts that would normally be considered consequential, but look tiny in their context, what they call big peanuts phenomenon. Surprisingly, there's little support for conditional cooperation in our sample. So what you saw with this woman, the conditional cooperation or retaliation and revenge, doesn't come across many times in this for some strange reason. But some of the highlights are that here further, we replicate earlier findings that males are less cooperative than females, but this gender effect reverses for older contestants because men become increasingly cooperative as their age increases. So here you can see the pattern. I'll just zoom into this, which is very, very interesting. So your age, the below 30 age, you can see we have females and males. So males are the black ones. So we've got much lower rates around the 35 for males and much higher rates for females around the 50, right? But then you can see as they age, women become a little bit more skeptical as men become a little bit more trusting. Overall, all of them increase. So you can see here, it's they started out from less than 50 and then they increased to a little bit above 50, but the change is not that big. But look what happens with males. The males go from something like 35 to almost 80, which is very, very curious. Maybe you have some hypothesis of what can cause this thing, but it's interesting. The change is not that big for women. It seems like during their 30s, they go through a little bit more trust, but then they lose all that trust. What do you mean cross-sectional?
The women who's something the 30 is not the same women.
No, of course not. It's a TV show. They only come once. Yeah,
So
definitely.
maybe it's a generation difference.
Could be. What would happen to, well, it of course depends on the episode. Yeah. What happened to them 40 years before, right? Yeah.
See something where it's most of the men are taught you need to be very trustworthy. Women are if I don't care, I need to get as much profit as possible. But for the other generation, they think the 30s and 40s, men are taught you need to make money as much as possible. Women are I need to take care or others. I need to be a good person.
Yeah, interesting. I like this explanation. It shows thinking in depth. I don't know if we can test this empirically, but it's already like one explanation, and they provide others in the article if you're curious about this. You can see also how people spend this depending on the amounts of money. So small amounts of money, you can see high cooperation, like 70%. This kind of like goes all the way in between like 50-50, and then really decreases when the stakes are very high. Make sense to you? The higher the stakes, people are less cooperative. Yeah, interesting. So just to show you, so we're not just like playing games and making, all kinds of, there's real applications for this. Even Nobel Prize winning scholars like Richard Thaler do this kind of research. So they go to the TV shows, they put people in the labs, they give them the prisoner's dilemma, they do all sorts of things in order to gain some insights. Just to show you, have you heard of the Nash equilibrium?
Probably the most famous thought experiment in competitive game theory is the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma describes a game, a social interaction, that involves two prisoners. We'll call them Wanda and Fred. Wanda and Fred were arrested fleeing from the scene of a crime, and based on the evidence the police have already collected, they are going to have to spend 2 years in jail. But the DA wants more, so he offers them both a deal. If you confess to the crime and your partner does not, you will be granted immunity for cooperating. You'll be free to go. Your partner, though, will serve 10 years in jail. If you both confess and dish up loads of dirt about each other, then you will both end up spending 5 years in jail. But if neither of you confess, you will both spend only 2 years in jail. Those are their options. Then Wanda and Fred are split up. They don't know what their partner is going to do. They have to make their decisions independently. Now, Wanda and Fred, they've had some wild times stealing diamonds or whatever, but they don't have any special loyalty to each other. They're not brother and sister. They're hardened criminals. Fred has no reason to think that Wanda won't stab him in the back and vice versa. Competitive game theory arranges their choices and their potential consequences into a grid that looks like this. If both Wanda and Fred choose not to confess, they'll both serve 2 years. In theory, this is the best overall outcome. Combined, they would spend as little time in prison as possible. But that immunity sounds pretty good. If one of them chooses to confess and the other one doesn't, the snitch gets to walk. Then the math looks like this. That's the problem. Wanda and Fred have no reason to trust each other. Wanda might consider not confessing because if Fred doesn't confess either, both only serve 2 years. If they could really trust each other, that would be their best bet. But Wanda can't be sure that Fred won't snitch. He has a lot to gain by confessing. If he does decide to confess and she keeps silent, she's risking 10 years in jail while he goes free. Compared to that, the 5 years they'd both get for turning on each other doesn't sound so bad. And that is game theory's solution. They should both confess and rat each other out. So right now you're thinking, wow, game theory is a jerk, but it actually makes sense. That square in the grid where they both confess is the only outcome that has reached what's known as Nash equilibrium. This is a key concept in competitive game theory. A player in a game has found Nash equilibrium when they make the choice that leaves them better off no matter what their opponents decide to do. If Wanda confesses and Fred does not confess, she's better off. She gets to walk. By confessing, she went from serving 2 years in prison to serving none. If Fred does confess, she's still better off. If she'd kept her mouth shut, she'd be spending 10 years in prison. Now, she only has to serve 5. Sure, if she decides not to confess and Fred keeps his pinky promise too, they'll both get out in 2 years, but that is an unstable state because Wanda can't trust Fred. She doesn't know what he's gonna do. This is not a cooperative game. All of the players stand to gain from stabbing each other in the back.
We'll talk about some situations where this might happen, but the thing about Nash is that it's a very pessimistic view on things, right? At the end, what can you do? Your best strategy is just to not cooperate, right? So we take this to all kinds of different directions. So I think for a very long time, this is what economists were claiming. And then psychologists came into the mix trying to show a slightly different take on mankind and cooperation. So we'll try and dive a little bit more into this. Just before we wrap up the prisoner's dilemma, you might ask yourself, what happens when we actually go to prisoners and give them this dilemma? What would happen? And what happens if we compare them to students? So this is what they did here, which is very, very interesting. So a real article. So one thing that you can do is just do what it is that something is called in order to test what happens in real life. So this is what they did. The prisoners and their dilemma. This is what happens, students versus prisoners. And this is what they found. The cooperation rate among inmates exceeds the rate of cooperating students. So we think all kinds of things about criminals, but actually the criminals cooperate a lot more than students do. So that's already a very interesting take on this. You can see kind of like the shift between cooperation and defection between these two samples. But it's not the only article. There's actually quite a few articles that went and tested this in different places. Here is one in Italy. Southern Italy has a reputation for like mafia people, the Godfather kind of type. So these people, very brave, went to the mafia folks and just gave them like prisoner dilemmas in order to see what happens. And I'll just zoom in here. You can see the mafia criminals is this one here. And you can see the ordinary criminals and you can see the students. So very interesting to compare students to ordinary criminals and then the mafia folks to see the rates of cooperation between them. So the percent of cooperation is just very, very high for mafia criminals. So something to think about. We assume all kinds of things, the criminal, Nash equilibrium, they will always defect, no reason to trust each other because, crime. But turns out that there is some kind of like a code between criminals, especially if they're all like hanging out together in a mafia in southern Italy. So that's like an interesting take on that. Okay, another game. And we're going to try and increase this a little bit. Once again, your task is to acquire as many candies as possible. Students are going to be lining up, let's say here. So we're going to line the volunteers here. We'll put this aside. And I'm going to put candies in front of them, in front of the students. And then we're going to have a countdown from 10 to 0. And at any time, any of the students can take any of the candies that are presented to them. But if at the end of the, after we finish the countdown from 10 to 0, whatever is left in front of them, I will double, okay? And then there's an unknown number of rounds. So there is a question of to take, not to take, what to do, how to coordinate, this kind of thing, okay? Yeah, all right, anything else? Yeah, every 10 seconds we'll double. The game ends if no more candies presented or all the rounds played, but you don't know how many rounds there are, okay? Anybody want to play? Any volunteers? Yeah, okay, good. So come, stand here. Three more. Yeah, come. Who else? Lai. Yeah, great. One more. Last one. Come. Okay, great. So stand like in a line. Let's put this here in front of you. Face the class. Just stand here, a little bit to the back, so everybody can see you. And here I'm going to put the. So we're going to start with 3. Okay. You can take or not take once we start the timer. Before we start, you think about your strategy, right? And you think about what your predictions are for what's going to happen. Hold on, just a second. Timer, 10 seconds. All right, so we don't know how many rounds there are. Yeah, the rules are clear. You have 10 seconds to do what you feel like. Okay, starting from now, 10, 9, 8. It will double whatever is left there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. So we have 2 here. Doubled. You took 1, right?
We haven't.
Sorry? Okay, you doubled, yeah. So we had 2, now we have 4. We're gonna do another round, so plan your strategy. Okay, starting now, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, finished. I'm gonna double this one. All right. Okay, gonna start. Go again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Finished. And that was the last round. So a round of applause. Thank you very much. So how many do you have? 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay. Tell me a little bit what went through your mind. Maybe I will interview you with this. Yeah.
The last round we discussed. The first round I was like, I mean, we have to play it, so why not pick one?
Okay.
Okay. So,
it's a bit more.
And the second round we
wait. So let's start from the first one. In the first round, you actually took one, right? What was your thinking behind this?
Because I feel like you're a reporter.
Yeah.
Because we were playing the game and then it was 10-9, and no one's picking up, just pick one.
Yeah, why?
Just for the sake of playing the game.
Okay.
Start something.
For the sake to start something. How did you feel when he picked one?
It's his choice.
His choice. Everything is okay.
I mean, it's not the last round.
The last
so it's like it's gonna double it anyway.
How did you know it's not the last round?
I don't think you just stop there.
Okay. You're making predictions and assumptions about me. Okay. What were your thoughts when he took one?
I think the first round, if someone take one, let's say, and others don't have any, then I think it's kind of wrong because not everyone get ones in a turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But the second round, because of the resources is more abundant for us to each have one.
Okay.
Then the situation become more fair. Then I think it's the right choice for us to have one first.
Okay, I see. What were your thoughts?
Someone lack of long-term planning.
Lack of Say more.
Between different.
Yeah. Like for me, I'm some type of person who need to, plan for the whole thing before I take any action, and some people are not. And then I noticed that, like in the population, it's like it won't be always go as someone's plan because there is always difference between people.
Yeah. And you were trying to coordinate a little bit, but it's difficult to do in 10 seconds. Do you know each other, by the way? You don't know each other, so it's even more difficult. Kind of, right? Yeah. So you can maybe coordinate the two of you, but then you've got like two very unpredictable people here, right? Yeah. And already something happened in the first round, right? Yeah. What did you see? So now we understand a little bit more of their mindset. What did you notice? Tell me what you saw. Yes, please.
Because you said that it can end any time.
Okay.
In the second round, I was so mad. I wanted them to take on to
Okay.
Because, like, I felt like after a couple of rounds, it would end. And it would just be done.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think about that?
Makes sense.
Makes sense? Yeah, good. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Okay.
If one goes, you can go. Something like that. In all rounds or just the last round or what? Okay. Yeah, interesting. What would you like to change? Now we have players. We can do another game. I'm giving you the opportunity to set the rules. What would you like to see? You are the scientist. You want to make predictions and see what they're going to do in the next round, in the next game. Anything you want to change about the game? What do you want to know? What do you want to test? What is one factor that can change everything? Certainty about what? Oh, the number of rounds. Yeah. Okay. So we can test one with a certainty of rounds. You know what? Actually, let's do this. Okay. So I'm going to tell you in advance that we have 3 rounds. Okay. Now you know. Plan accordingly. We'll start with 4. Why not? because we want to give away stuff. Okay, so think about what you want to do, and then we're going to start now. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. So no defection here. Nobody took anything. All right, so we have 4 more here. It doubled. Let's go again. Second round. Going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
We're in the same team.
All right. So we have a lot more now. Yeah. All right. So we have all of this now. Last round. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Good. Round of applause.
Do we need to return it? It's all like
It is yours. This is for real. It's yours. How many do you have? 5. How many do you have?
5.
How many do you have?
5.
How many do you have?
No, 4 from this round.
you're in total. You're in total.
Okay, so tell us what happened.
Like from both.
No, from this game. From this game. This game. 5, 5, 5, 5.
Like everyone got 4.
Oh, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, good. Number of rounds as a scientist. Did this match your prediction? Okay. Anybody have some insight, something interesting that went on here? Yeah? Good. So we have a test of this. Something you want to say, yeah?
Who have better trust when they know more about the environment? When the uncertainty, when there's more uncertainty, people are more skeptical about everything.
Is it?
It's harder.
So let me tell you what happened in other courses.
Okay.
Actually, when you know the number of rounds, you might be able to plan better how to take everything for yourself. They were very nice about, they did not go for acquire as many candies as possible. They had a different goal. It's like fairness, cooperation, equality. But if you want to maximize things, actually knowing the number of rounds might create something different, right? The issue is that it's not clear what that something different is. Because if you think about this and you think everybody else has the same strategy, you would think, okay, so if I'm a rational actor, I will wait till the 3rd round. So probably the other people are going to wait for the last round. So I'm going to take everything in the 2nd round. But then the other person saying, okay, so maybe they're thinking that they're going to take in the 3rd round, so the 2nd round, I'm going to take everything in the 1st round. So actually what happened in other classes sometimes is that immediately somebody came in the 1st round and took everything. So sometimes, so you had an interesting assumption and it worked out. The hypothesis was supported in this because you were very kind to cooperate with each other. But if you all had like a real incentive to maximize, it's not really clear that this would happen, right? Especially if you assume the worst of the other person next to you, right? Yeah. So it's not clear if number of rounds is actually going to increase cooperation or decrease cooperation. Because if you know how many rounds there are, you can plan a strategy. And actually that is the Nash equilibrium. It's like not only what you would do, but assuming that the other person is going to do what you would do, therefore you need to co-opt them in order to do this earlier. Yeah. Any other things you want to test while they're still up here? What other things you want to vary? Okay, yeah, anonymity is interesting. I'm not sure we can pull this off here in this class, but it's already very interesting. Oh, you have another one? Yeah, thank you.
You don't know you know the number of rounds, but you don't know how much will be increased each round.
Okay, what do you think would happen? I might take out, I might increase, I might decrease, something like that. You don't know what's going to happen, what's going to happen to the pool?
Yeah.
Okay, so keep the number of rounds, but then randomly decide.
Yeah.
Okay, how to do this randomly? I need to decide in advance. Okay, that's a little bit too complicated, but thank you for these thoughts. Thank you for participating, very, very much appreciated. Yeah, so we did the unknown rounds and we did 3 rounds. So that's already very nice. prisoner's dilemma and public goods game. This game is called the public goods game. It's actually something that we need to care about because it's a good simulation of what's happening in our world, especially when we have the competition for resources between the big empires, the big forces, the big powers in the world, wanting to have the best economy, wanting to develop as much as possible, wanting to have energy. And if people only focus on themselves, then we all gain to lose. A little bit like what's happening with climate change and global warming. And we want to simulate this. We want to understand, why is this happening? Why are people in the Paris Accords and in every other time, why it's so difficult to coordinate between the different countries? So there's lots of baggage there. So for example, when the big powers, the G7, come together, so for example, you've got of course, the US with all its privilege and all its history and being very wealthy. And then you've got China and India coming in and saying, you've already benefited, you're very, very wealthy. Now it's time for us to catch up. So a very interesting debate that happens across all that. This is a very famous case study. Okay, so we're talking about bonuses. Bonuses to increase your grade. And you can choose one of two things, either to increase by 6 points, which is a lot, or just by 2 points. However, there's a catch, and the catch is if over 10% choose the 6th option, nobody gets a bonus, okay? A little bit like this, a combination of public goods and the prisoner's dilemma, right? So you need everybody to cooperate in order to choose what to do with the 10%. And you need to make sure that nobody defects above that. And the outcome from what you've witnessed in class, yeah. So that's what you meant by you said that it failed? Yeah, it failed by too many people choose the 6 points, whereas everybody could have just gained 2 points, right? So what's your understanding of this? Why would this happen? Why is this the outcome in these situations? What do you mean? But if everybody agrees that everybody gets 2, what's the problem with this? But it could be that somebody would cheat, right? And why is this a problem? Somebody cheats. But no, we don't want people to. It's not.
Like if they cheat, it will not be a big problem. Like as long as everyone.
It's okay for me to cheat.
Get tips, it's okay. But everyone is thinking that everyone should cheat.
Yeah.
And then no one can.
I want to show you a live experiment where this happened. So, putting on the scientist hat, actually, I would have liked to offer you the opportunity to improve this in order to make sure that everybody gets like a good bonus in my class. And the question is, if I allow you to change anything, how would you solve this problem? So let's see what happens in this classroom where the professor gives them again and again the opportunity to coordinate and solve this situation. Did they solve this or not? Let's see what happens. Okay, so just if everybody chooses collude, cooperate, all students get a 10 bonus point in the final exam. If everybody chooses to collude but one person defects, that person gets 50 bonus points in the final exams and no other students get any points. If more than one person chooses to defect, no student receives any bonus points. And these are real bonus points, not pretend, okay? Oh, one more thing. They have clickers, so immediately it comes up and it shows up on the Menti, yeah? First vote.
It'd be nice to have 10 points in the exam. It'd be nice to have 10 points, huh? The problem is that 50 is much better than 10.
Yeah, did not work out.
You guys want to do it again?
Yeah, sure. You want to do it again? Yeah.
You want to talk among yourself or something before you do it? Or you just want to go for it? Better. You convinced 4 people to collude, right? That was an improvement.
Need more time.
You want to do it again? Yeah. One thing before we do it. Anything? Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. You want some people here want people to go for A.
Great clickers. Give your clicker to somebody else.
Pass your clicker. He's suggesting that we pass your clicker to the next person and see if that works. Want to try that? Let's try. So you don't have to try, but make sure you keep track of who you're giving it to, right?
So everybody gives their clicker to somebody else. Any problems with this? What will happen? Peer pressure for what? To cooperate, right? To cooperate, right? So will this solve the problem? Okay. Let's see.
So if you want, why don't you trade clickers with the person next to you? Trade clicker with the person next to you. And pass your clickers. Now, if you pass your clicker, there's no reason why you should defect now. So the chances, I think, should have been a little better, right?
It seems like there's always this one person, even if it's not your clicker, there's always this one person, at least one person, that's not going to cooperate. Very strange, right? And there's some various variations of this. I like people coming up with new things. So this is like from this year. I saw this in 2023. Favorite experiment in my game theory class. The class decides whether to get 1 bonus or gives this to next year 3 bonus points. So it's interesting, not your classmate, but like somebody that you don't know in the future class. Do you want to take the 1 point or give it to the next person? And then there's this game of trust. We don't have the time to do this, but one of your readings, the last one, is a game, and you can actually play the game of trust. I'm just going to start this out to show you how cute it is. Has anybody seen this before? Seen this before? No? Okay. This is what it looks like. Sorry? Yeah. So you play a game, and you need to decide whether to cheat or cooperate, and then you can see what happens. They explain the stakes. Happens. Then you can stop playing. Choose wisely. But then there's multiple iterations, so you can see what happens. At the beginning you gain, but then what happens is that both of them defect. So actually what it is that you do is going to affect what the other person is doing. And it keeps on going. So it's a very clever game. And it increases in complexity. And if you do this game, I strongly recommend you to do this as a reading. It's one of many fun games that you can do for your last reading. But you can see there are different strategies. So you can decide which strategy you want to do. And the big question is, who is going to win in this strategy against everybody else? There could be all kinds of strategies. Is it going to be the copycat? If they cooperate, I cooperate. If they defect, I defect. Is it they always cheat, they always cooperate, the grudger, or the detective? And the further you go, it's about 25 minutes. The further you go, the more characters you'll get to know. So strongly recommend you. And then you'll see like iterations and what happens when you have different characters in your society, and whether you're able or not able to have trust, and what kind of character ends up dominating society. So I'm not going to tell you what the solution is, but I strongly recommend either for the reading, or if you've done that reading already, then do it for something else. A very, very fun game. It's the nicest simulation that I've seen to cooperation situations. So a lot of things, you can see it like increases complexity, all the networks, you can keep going around this, do this again and again. You've got like simpleton and random, you've got like a bunch of things. I just want to show you, finally, before as the end, is that there's real consequences for this. So actually during the pandemic, when everybody had to wear masks and everybody had to take protective measures, it's a real situation of cooperation. Is everybody going to cooperate? Or maybe there's like one person who's going to violate this. And how is this going to affect how all of us are going to be impacted in infection in all of us having to isolate and quarantine. So if you think all of that is hypothetical, it really isn't. And a lot of people are trying to map this out in game theory terms in order to understand the psychology of not just the one person, but of entire crowd. So that what makes psychology, rather than clinical or developmental, one person oriented, into social psychology, where you have different people that have to coordinate and have to come to some measure of trust. Good. So this wraps up today. Thank you for playing and being a good sport. I hope you gained something from this. Go over what it is that I posted on Slack. Happy to talk to all of you about your findings, what it is that you're thinking about. Right now, the deadline is the end of the week, but if you need longer, just let me know and I will extend this. So no pressure, take your time, no need to do nights or weekends. We can work this out, but very interesting findings. So thank you for building these experiments. I'll see you next week.